All right, this is an adult damselfly, a dry damselfly pattern called L2HFHi VisDamsel. I'm going to tie this fly on a 2488 hook, which is a short shank hook, a 3x wide hook gape. Gives me very good hooking ability with the fly. The fly itself has a very small body, and I don't want to use that small a hook on it. So I'm going to use this very wide gape hook that typically you see used for scuds and a lot of midge larvae and that type of fly. I'm going to start out just laying a base of thread on the hook. Then I'm going to move the thread back to just about the point where the hook point is. And I like to turn this fly so the bottom is facing towards me. The wing on the fly is a fluorofiber. It's also called Organza. You can get it in a woven sheet. It's called Organza. This fluorofiber is a little bit easier to work with because it's straight. You can just cut it off like a lot of crystal flash and that type of material. And I don't try and make, the wings on this fly are very, very large. I don't try and actually imitate the whole size of the wing. What I'm looking to do is get a little bit of sparkle and flash out to the side of the fly and just represent that the wings are there, but not represent the actual size of the wing. I'm going to take this on the bottom of the hook and I'm going to figure eight it just like a spinner wing. So it's a spent wing out to the sides. Once I get it on, trim this second side. And they're going to be a little bit long for now. I'll actually even them up and trim them up a little bit later. But secure those. A couple more figure eights. And then I'm going to actually post these. And I don't need to post them very far, but it helps me control the wing as I'm tying the fly. I can push it into position where it's out of the way of another step. I turn my vise so I can post the other side easily. And it's more to help me tie the fly than that it needs to be posted to make the fly effective. Now, once I've got those wings posted, I can fold them down. They're kind of out of the way right now. And there's a reason they're on the bottom of the hook. And that is to keep them separate from the high vis post that I'm going to put on. This is just ParaPost yarn. And you can pick a color that you can see well. And I'm going to lay that right on top of the hook and parallel to the hook and put a couple of loose figure eights on it. Then I lift the ParaPost material and just pull it back and forth a little bit, and that seats those two wraps right down close to the center of that length of yarn. I'm going to make a couple more wraps, do the same thing. Once I've got it on there with those 4 figure 8 wraps, I hold the ends up and put some good heavy tension on the thread, and then secure all that by wrapping it onto the hook shank. Then I'm going to post the high vis yarn up, and by putting the wings on the bottom and the post on the top, it helps me keep those materials separated so they don't end up getting mixed together and tangled up. Again, I'm going to work on the back of the fly now, so with those posted wings I can push them forward and they're well out of the way. All right, the body of this fly is going to be just, it's a braided leader butt material dyed. It's marketed as adult damsel body. You can dye it yourself and use a Sharpie marker to add the little black stripes to it if you want, but it's very convenient to buy it. I'm going to cut about 1 inch of it off and tie it in right at the base of the vis post. Wrap it down good and tight. When I get to the back, I'm going to come underneath with a support wrap. Again, pull forward with that support wrap. And then to keep the leader butt material from fraying, I just use a very thin Zap-A-Gap. Get just a little bit of this And I usually make up a bunch of these ahead of time. Just put a little bit on the very tip, and that'll keep the fly from fraying in the back when you fish it. For the back of the fly, this again is just a very thin strip of 2mm fly foam, and I cut it so it's about 2 millimeters square in cross section. So it's about the same width as it is thick. And I'll cut about an inch of this off. The length isn't important as long as you've got enough. And then I'm going to cut it with my scissors up the center and kind of make two legs out of the material. So I've got it like that. And make it a little bit easier to tie in. Cut a little bit of a point to it. So before I tie it in, it's going to look just like that. And set that right on top of the hook behind the post. Catch the tip of it with my thread. Wrap it down all the way to where I tied the leader butt material in. And then you can see it's got two legs pointed out the back. And bring my wings out straight sideways. Keep the post straight up. Put a couple wraps in front of the fly. This is, again, super fine dubbing. Helps me make a very clean body. Start with a small amount. We can always add some more. And thin that out. Apply it to the thread. And I'm going to start, I like to start at the front of the fly because now I'm putting the dubbing on the thread out away from the hook point, and it's a little easier for me to work. I hold everything back and build a little bit of body up in front of the wings. Having a little bit of body in front of the wings is going to help hold them straight out to the side. Once I've got some body built up in front, take the thread to the back. Just cover the foam with dubbing. And get a little bit more. And I'm going to figure 8 in between the wings and the wing post to keep all those separate. And give the body a fairly even shape from front to back. And keep it wrapped on the thread real tight. Nice consistent taper from front to back. Then I take the foam, I'm going to pull it forward with one leg on each side of the post. Kind of comb the wings to the back. The foam is on top of the wings. I'm just combing them back out of the way. And the posting on those wings helps hold them back there. Stretch the foam just a little bit, not too tight because you don't want to break it. And pinch it in the middle. Come over the top with a couple thread wraps. Pull those down tight. Put several more on top. I take each leg of foam, pull it just a little bit as I trim it so the butt snaps back and it's not so big. Then I cover those up with thread. Whip finish the fly. Then you can trim this post however tall you think you need to see it. And it usually actually shows up pretty well. You don't need a lot of post up there. Again, these wings, I'm not going to try and make them the actual size of the bug's wings because they tend to make your fly helicopter a little bit when you cast it. But if you get a little bit of sparkle, the wings on the natural are clear. So if you get just a little sparkle out to the side of the fly to indicate the wings are there, it'll help. I pinch this material together. I turn the fly upside down, pinch the material together right at the hook point, and then I double that dimension, and that's where I trim the wings off. I trim them off together so they end up being exactly the same length, and they're about 2 times the hook gape. Then I spread them out to the sides and ready to fish.